Premiering in 2003, Two and a Half Men quickly became one of television's biggest sitcoms, dominating the airwaves during its golden years in the mid-2000s. With sharp wit, outrageous humor, and a standout cast led by Charlie Sheen, the show thrived on its mix of dysfunctional family dynamics and comedic chaos. But beyond the laughs, some of the actors who brought these memorable characters to life have sadly passed away. Here are 13 Two and a Half Men actors who have tragically passed away. Conchata Ferrell as Berta. Conchata Ferrell came into this world on March 28, 1943, in the picturesque hills of Charleston, West Virginia, a place where small-town grit met Southern charm. By the time she turned 60, she was lighting up living rooms across America as Berta, the no-nonsense, sharp-tongued housekeeper on Two and a Half Men. From 2003 to 2015, she graced 211 episodes with her gravelly voice and biting sarcasm, transforming Berta from a mere hired hand into the heart and soul of the Harper household. She wasn't just there to clean up after Charlie and Alan, she was family, tossing out zingers with the precision of a seasoned comedian, her wit cutting through the chaos like a knife through butter. Every line she delivered felt like a gift, wrapped in laughter that rang through the show's wild seasons, cementing Berta as a cornerstone of its unruly charm. Before the cameras rolled, Conchata carved out a life rich with its own stories. She grew up in a working-class family, eventually studying at Marshall University, where her love for acting took root. In 1986, she married Arnie Anderson, a steady anchor in her world, and together they welcomed a daughter, Samantha, into their lives, a bond that held strong through the years. Her career wasn't just sitcom gold. She earned acclaim on stage and screen, snagging an Emmy nomination for L.A. Law and shining in films like Edward Scissorhands. But as time marched on, her body began to falter. In 2019, a kidney infection hit her hard, a warning sign of tougher days ahead. By May 2020, a heart attack landed her in a hospital bed for weeks, and on October 12, 2020, in Sherman Oaks, California, surrounded by the hum of medical machines, Conchata Ferrell took her final breath at 77. Her passing left a void, but her legacy, a tough, witty spirit who made every stolen scene feel like home, lives on in the hearts of fans who'll never forget her roar of a laugh. Mike Connors as Hugo. Born Krekor Ohanian on August 15, 1925, in the sun-soaked streets of Fresno, California, Mike Connors lived a life brimming with charisma before stepping on to the Two and a Half Men set at 88. His brief role as Hugo in the 2013 episode This Unblessed Biscuit was a quiet masterclass in understated humor, his cool-headed charm standing tall amid the Harper brothers' whirlwind antics. It was just one episode, but Connors brought a lifetime of screen savvy to the role, proving his star power hadn't dimmed a bit. Fans of classic TV knew him best as Joe Mannix from the hit series Mannix, where he spent 8 seasons from 1967 to 1975 cracking cases and winning hearts, earning a Golden Globe along the way. That same effortless grace carried him into this cameo, a nod to a career that spanned decades. Beyond Hollywood, Connors built a rock-solid foundation with Mary Lou Willie, his wife since 1949, a partnership that weathered over 6 decades and gave them 2 children, Matthew and Dana. He'd grown up in a tight-knit Armenian-American family, served in the Air Force during World War II, and even played basketball under Coach John Wooden at UCLA before acting called his name. But as the years piled on, age brought its shadows. In January 2017, a leukemia diagnosis struck fast and fierce, draining the vitality from a man who'd once seemed unstoppable. Just a week later, on January 26, 2017, Mike Connors slipped away in a Tarzana, California hospital at 91, leaving his family and fans to mourn a gentleman whose quiet strength and timeless talent had lit up screens for generations. Harry Dean Stanton as himself. Harry Dean Stanton drew his first breath on July 14, 1926, in the rolling green of West Irvine, Kentucky, a small-town kid with a big future ahead. At 78, he wandered into 2.5 Men for a cameo as himself in the 2004 episode Bad News from the Clinic, bringing his signature laid-back vibe to the Harper madness. With a quirky charm that felt like he'd just stumbled off a bar stool and onto the set, Stanton turned a fleeting moment into pure comedy gold, his ease clashing perfectly with Charlie and Alan's frenetic energy. It was a quick visit, but his weathered face and sly grin left an imprint, a reminder of why he'd been a cult favorite in films like Paris, Texas, and Alien. Stanton's life was a tapestry of its own. Raised by a hairdresser mom and a tobacco farmer dad, he served in the Navy during World War II, surviving the Battle of Okinawa before chasing acting in Hollywood. He never tied the knot, opting for a bachelor's life of brief romances and late-night jam sessions. He was a gifted musician, too, often strumming a guitar with pals like Bob Dylan. As he aged, his health slipped quietly out of focus. Specifics were murky, but the toll of time and unspoken ailments wore him down. On September 15, 2017, at 91, Harry Dean Stanton passed away peacefully at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, a maverick who'd lived on his terms. With a faint smile, he closed the book on a career that danced to its own rhythm, leaving fans to cherish a spirit as free as the open road he so often embodied. Brian Turk as Gabriel. Brian Turk was born on May 29, 1970, in Denver, Colorado, where the Rocky Mountains cast a rugged backdrop to his early years. At 37, he stepped into 2.5 Men as Gabriel in the 2007 episode Large Birds, Spiders, and Mom, a supporting role that felt like a warm breeze amid the show's stormy humor. Turk brought a gentle, effortless wit to the Harper family chaos, his presence a subtle gem that sparkled just enough to catch your eye. Though his time on screen was short, it hinted at a talent that deserved more spotlight, something fans of his roles in Carnivale or The Lost World, Jurassic Park already knew well. Growing up in Colorado, he'd been an athlete and a dreamer, eventually finding his way to acting after moving to California. Off-screen, Turk's world was anchored in love. He married Ashley, his rock, and together they raised 2 sons, their home alive with the sound of little feet and big dreams. But life threw a devastating curveball in 2018 when brain cancer crashed into their lives, a diagnosis that turned their sunny days dark. He fought with everything he had, but on September 13, 2019, at 49, Brian Turk slipped away in his Orange County, California home, surrounded by the family he adored. His loss cut deep, a quiet tragedy for a man whose light, both on screen and in life, shone brighter than the roles he was given. Georgia Engel as Jean. Georgia Engel arrived on July 28, 1948, in Washington, D.C., a city pulsing with ambition and history, where she was born to a Coast Guard officer and his wife. At 64, she slipped into 2.5 Men as Jean, Lindsay's quirky mom, across 2 season 9 episodes in 2011, her soft voice and sly humor weaving a character both lovable and a little oddball. Engel brought a fresh twist to the show's tangled web of relationships, her understated brilliance leaving a mark that lingered long after her scenes faded. She'd built a career on that gentle charm, earning 5 Emmy nominations as Georgette on The Mary Tyler Moore Show and delighting audiences in Everybody Loves Raymond. Raised in a devout Christian Scientist family, she studied theater at the University of Hawaii, her path to stardom as quiet as her demeanor. Away from the spotlight, Engel kept her life close to the vest. She never married, choosing instead to pour her warmth into friendships and her craft. As she grew older, her health began to slip, with whispers of heart trouble swirling, though nothing was ever set in stone. On April 12, 2019, at 70, Georgia Engel passed away in Princeton, New Jersey, her exit as hushed as her entrance. Her absence left a soft ache, a reminder of a talent whose sweet voice and subtle genius had brightened screens with a grace all her own. Martin Mull as Russell. Martin Mull was born on August 18, 1943, in the bustling heart of Chicago, Illinois, a city that shaped his dry, clever wit from the start. At 65, he was stirring up trouble in 2.5 Men as Russell, the eccentric pharmacist. Across 5 episodes from Season 6 to Season 9, his deadpan delivery and sharp jabs making every scene a delight. Mull turned Russell into a fan favorite, a laid-back oddball who could zing Charlie and Alan with a twinkle in his eye, his humor a perfect little package of joy. Before that, he'd carved a niche as a comedic chameleon. Think Leon Karp on Roseanne or his starring role in Clue, all while juggling a side gig as a painter with a fine arts degree from Rhode Island School of Design. Life off-screen was just as colorful. He married singer Wendy Haas in 1982, and their daughter Maggie grew up in a home filled with creativity and laughter. Born to a railroad executive and a homemaker, Mull had a knack for finding the absurd in the everyday, a trait that carried him through decades of work. But in 2023, cancer slipped into his story, a silent battle that drained his spark. On June 27, 2024, at 80, Martin Mull took his final bow in his Los Angeles home, leaving behind a treasure chest of laughs and a legacy that'll keep fans grinning through misty eyes. Glenne Headly as Karen. Glenne Headly entered the world on March 13, 1955, in New London, Connecticut, a quaint seaside town that hinted at the quiet strength she'd carry through life. At 52, she stepped into 2.5 Men as Karen in the 2007 episode Kinda Like Necrophilia, her brief role radiating a magnetic charm and razor-sharp wit that stole the scene. Even in a small part, Headley's presence felt big, a testament to the skill she'd honed in films like Dirty Rotten Scoundrels and Mr. Holland's Opus, earning her a reputation as a versatile star. Raised by a single mom after her parents split, she found her footing in Chicago's theater scene before breaking into Hollywood. Her personal life had its chapters of turbulence, her 1988 divorce from John Malkovich after his affair with Michelle Pfeiffer stung, but she found her happily ever after with Byron McCulloch in 1993, welcoming a son, Sterling, into their fold. Headly was a thinker, too, fluent in French and a lover of literature, balancing her craft with a rich inner world. Then, in 2017, fate dealt a sudden blow. A pulmonary embolism struck while she was filming in Santa Monica, a thief that stole her breath and her future. On June 8, 2017, at 62, Glenne Headly passed away in a hospital there, leaving fans reeling from the loss of a talent gone far too soon. Edward Herrmann as Judge Harper. Edward Herrmann was born on July 21, 1943, in Washington, D.C., his deep voice and towering presence destined for greatness from the jump. At 60, he brought a mix of gravitas and sly humor to 2.5 Men as Judge Harper in the 2003 episode Phase 1 Complete, his stern yet warm demeanor anchoring the show's early chaos. It was a fleeting role, but Herrmann made it unforgettable, a nod to a career that included Emmy-nominated turns as FDR in Eleanor and Franklin and a beloved run as patriarch Richard Gilmore on Gilmore Girls. Raised in Michigan after a bout with polio as a kid, he studied at Bucknell University and honed his craft in London on a Fulbright scholarship. Life off-screen was a steady joy. He married Star Hayner in 1992, blending their families with 3 kids from 2 marriages, and he relished quiet moments tinkering with vintage cars. But in 2014, brain cancer emerged as a relentless enemy, striking just as he was wrapping up a film. On December 31st, 2014, at 71, Edward Herrmann took his last breath in a New York hospital, closing a chapter on a career that left a towering mark on stage and screen, his rich voice echoing in the memories of those he touched. Richard Lewis as Stan. Richard Lewis burst onto the scene on June 29, 1947, in Brooklyn, New York, his neurotic energy a gift from the city that never sleeps. At 65, he brought that signature chaos to 2.5 Men as Stan in the 2012 episode Something My Gynecologist Said, a whirlwind of anxiety and charm that lit up the screen in a flash. It was vintage Lewis, a taste of the stand-up genius who'd packed comedy clubs and starred in Anything But Love with Jamie Lee Curtis. Raised in Jersey by a caterer dad and an actress mom, he turned his hypochondriac quirks into a career, penning jokes that landed him on Late Night with David Letterman dozens of times. Love came later. He married Joyce Lipinski in 2005 after years of solo living, a partnership that steadied his restless soul. But the end loomed heavy. Parkinson's disease slowed him down in his final years, and a heart attack delivered the knockout punch. On February 27, 2024, at 76, Richard Lewis passed away in his Los Angeles home, leaving a legacy of laughter laced with a bittersweet edge that'll linger like a good punchline. Tim Conway as Tim. Tim Conway was born Thomas Daniel Conway on December 15, 1933, in Willoughby, Ohio, a Cleveland suburb where his comedic roots took hold. At 77, he popped into 2.5 Men as Tim in the 2011 episode 9 Magic Fingers, playing Charlie's buddy with a mischievous twinkle that turned a small role into a joyful romp. It was classic Conway, the kind of genius that earned him 6 Emmys on The Carol Burnett Show, where his bumbling characters had audiences in stitches. Raised by an Irish mom and a Romanian dad, he stumbled into comedy after a stint in the Army and a gig as a Cleveland DJ. His personal life was full, married to Charlene Fusco since 1984 after a first marriage to Mary Ann Dalton. He fathered 7 kids, a big boisterous clan that mirrored his on-screen warmth. But in 2018, hydrocephalus, fluid on the brain, hit hard, robbing him of the golden years he'd earned. On May 14, 2019, at 85, Tim Conway slipped away in Los Angeles, his impish spirit leaving behind a timeless treasure trove of laughs that still feels like a hug from an old friend. As we look back on these talented actors, their performances remind us of the laughter and unforgettable moments they brought to 2.5 Men. Though they are no longer with us, their legacy lives on through their work. Which of these actors' roles do you remember most? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.